I'd like to call this Ross Valley Public Financing Authority meeting to order. This is a special governing board meeting agenda, December 20th, 2023. Roll call, please.
Just learning how to use a chair. Director Meeks.
Here.
Director Silla.
Here.
Director Borstein.
Here.
Director Gaffney.
Here.
Director Kelly.
Here. Move to approve the agenda. I'll second.
Michael, did you push your button before you said that?
All in favor? Yes, I did.
Okay.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. First, I'd like to have open time for public to raise items not on an agenda or for future agendas. I'm not seeing any public here who might like to speak, and I don't see anybody online. So in order to save some time, let's go ahead and consideration of approving the meeting minutes of December 21st, 2022.
I move approval. Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Okay. Consideration of accepting the fiscal year 2023 financial audit of the Ross Valley Public Financing Authority, RVPFA. And Mr. General Manager.
Thank you, President Borstein. For this item, I'd like to hand it over to Assistant General Manager Newhouse to introduce the item.
Thank you very much. So the Ross Valley Public Financing Authority is a what I call a blended component unit of the Ross Valley Sanitary District Board for the purposes of issuing debt. And it also is required to have an annual audit. So we have enlisted the help of Cropper Accountancy to perform that audit. And they have issued an unmodified opinion on the financial statements. We also have John Cropper here with Cropper Accountancy to provide a little bit of a summary on the audit and be available to answer any questions of the board. The one thing I would note, just for clarification, is that there's a required communication by the auditor, attachment B, also commonly known as the SAS 114 auditor's communication, and that particular communication is on page 193 of your packet. It was included because this entity is a component unit of the Ross Valley Sanitary District Board. It's also the financial information that's included in this particular entity is also included in the district's audit, which is a subsequent item on the next meeting agenda. So with that, I'd like to introduce John Cropper. Thank you for being here, John.
Sure. I'm here primarily for.
Thank you.
Oh, yes. Okay.
You know any Frank Sinatra, that'd be good.
You want me to sing? You do not want me to sing.
Mr. Cropper, if you could just stand where the podium you can imagine would be right about there. Yeah.
This is all
Perfect.
very, very nice in here. I've been to a lot of board meetings and council meetings, and not one nicer than the dais that I see. And it's a pleasure to be here.
Is that on?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. I'm just
Okay.
feel like it was
Great. On behalf of Cropper Accountancy Corporation, who performed the audit, who was hired by this board to do the district audit, and of course the Public Financing Authority, which is I would call it a subset, blended component unit. It's not broken out and has a lot to do with the debt. If there are questions on that, I'm here for that. Am I going to pop up in a minute just as well? Okay. So if there's questions, I'm happy to take them. If not, I'll sit back down and get up in another second.
I assume the finance committee reviewed this as well.
actually, we
officially didn't, but it wasn't on our agenda.
Oh, okay.
It was part of the blended
Okay.
part. We did talk about the debt, and it really, if you read both reports, you'll see what we're talking about. They both have an opinion, unmodified opinion. They both have a management discussion analysis. It's very well done. It's a couple pages to read, and then the financial statements and the notes. But the more comprehensive one is the district. And so we spent most of the time with Michael Bornstein and Thomas Gaffney from the Finance Committee on those on that bigger report.
Are there any questions from the board members at this time? Seeing none.
I could make a comment.
Yeah, Tom will make a comment.
You know, I of course reviewed this, and it's kind of a perfunctory requirement. It shows that we're meeting our debt service, following all the rules, and you know, we certainly are, and our accountants verified that.
Thank you. Anybody else? Pam, Mary, Doug?
No.
Okay, at this time, we just adjourn.
Well, we have to have a motion to accept. So I
Motion.
move to accept.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Let me just read it. And just, I move to accept the fiscal year 2023 financial audit of the Ross Valley Public Financing Authority.
I'll second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, unanimous vote. So now I will adjourn this meeting and we will reconvene as the Ross Valley Sanitary District in 2 minutes.
Are you going to make a comment about?
Microphone?
It's going to take some getting used to this new setup. I'd like to call this meeting of the Ross Valley Sanitary District regular board meeting, December 20th, 2023 to order. Roll call, please.
Director Meggs,
Here.
Director Silla,
Here.
Director Borstein,
Here.
Director Gaffney,
Here.
Director Kelly.
Okay, here.
Okay, if we can rise and to the Pledge of Allegiance with our. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. On the agenda, I see that we have two guests here tonight. And I'd like to suggest that we move them up. Should we have a coin toss to see who should go first?
What's the second? Is that number 10?
Mr. Crawford is here.
Yep.
And the Westfield
West Valley. Okay.
Construction Management.
Can we move that up before consent?
Yeah,
Both of them?
Let's do 10 first. Okay.
10, yeah.
10 first, and then the 8 and 9 with, which I think Mr. Crawford is here
Yeah.
for.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's on number 8.
I move with those changes. We make some changes into the agenda, but we approve it.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. I can remember for 15 seconds. Anyway, so let's go, open time for public to raise items not on agenda or for future agendas. Anyone wishing to address the Board of Directors on matters within the district's jurisdiction, but not on the posted agenda may do so. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. The board may not take action on or discuss items not on the agenda, but may briefly respond to statements or questions by a member of the public. The board president may refer any matter to staff for further follow-up or elect to have the matter placed on an agenda for a future meeting. I don't see any guests here. And do we have anybody online? No. So at this point, let's go ahead and take our construction management folks. So number 10.
I thought we move that before consent.
Oh,
No, we want to go over 10.
Okay, you want to do that before consent?
yeah, before committees, I'm
Before
sorry.
consent.
Okay.
Yeah. So number 10, please. And let me read that out loud. Consideration of authorizing the general manager upon review and approval of council to execute a consultant services agreement with West Valley Construction Company for design and engineering services during construction, ESDC, for fiscal year 2024/25 gravity sewer improvement project number 558 in the amount of $517,232. Mr. General Manager.
Thank you, President Borstein. I'll introduce the item and then also note that Senior Engineer Phil Benedetti, who assisted with this item, I'll hand it over to him. And then we do have our guests here from West Valley Construction who will then introduce and describe the work that is proposed. So to give you a quick introduction, this is the latest iteration of our gravity sewer improvement projects. We do 1 or 2 of these a year. It's time to line up design for fiscal 24/25. Here we are in fiscal 23/24, but we get the design going. We've already performed the planning, and as is stated in the staff report, our planning is based largely on implementing the infrastructure asset management plan recommendations that are risk-based. And you might recall in one of my reports a few months ago, we've done an update of the infrastructure asset management plan by running the data model freshly based on our current condition assessment information and incorporating all of the capital improvement work and in-house repair work that we've conducted. So we rerun the risk scoring model, and we intend to do this every 2 years. So we're not going to bring in another $1 million plan. We're just going to update the plan every 2 years by running the data model. And so this is the first list of proposed gravity sewer improvement plan elements based on a rerunning of the IMP data model. And so this is our, making good on our commitment, honoring our commitment to the framework of that plan, as well as honoring a commitment to our operation and maintenance staff who give us information on problematic maintenance lines. And then we integrate that into our recommendations as well. So there's sort of a hybrid approach to our project definition. And that is what has been rolled up and proposed. We do that all in-house. Patrick Filippelli runs the data model. Phil and I go over the recommendations and rank and sort and combine into neighborhoods and come up with a plan. And then we make it available to qualified design consultants to review. And in this case, our colleagues from West Valley Construction. And Phil will provide a little bit more detail on that process. But at this point, we're confident in the scope. We're excited actually about it because it's going to address a lot of longstanding issues. And we do need a qualified team design consultants because there are some tricky elements that we talked about a little bit in the staff report and have some examples there. But with that, I'd like to hand it over to Phil. And then the way we do this is, yeah, we got the microphone here so that folks online can hear us when we're talking. So Phil, why don't you go ahead and introduce the project a little more and then introduce our proposed consultants. Oh, okay.
Phil,
Hello?
you should be,
Is this on?
Phil, you should be in the camera. So it's really going to be where the podium is, which is in front of the glass. Yeah, there you go.
All
Thanks.
right. So I can't tell if the microphone's on. It's you can hear me through this? Okay. All right. Thank you, Steve. So the 24-25 gravity sewer improvements project, we're looking at replacing 2.8 roughly miles of pipe gravity sewer in Fairfax, San Anselmo, and Greenbrae. The project areas were selected through multiple different inputs. The main one being what Steve was just discussing, that update to the infrastructure asset management plan, the risk-based model. The first targeted area is the highest risk pipes, which are a couple of pipes that sit in downtown Fairfax. We're also addressing some recent SSO problematic areas in Fairfax. There's an area in San Anselmo where we are coordinating with the town paving project to rehab a more extensive area around Suffield and Rutherford by Butterfield, which is kind of tributary to Butterfield area. And then as well as an extensive easement section along Wolf Grade Road, Wolf Canyon, I believe is the feature that the geographic feature through there. We are going to address problematic for maintenance crew lines through there, high frequency cleaning lines, and then some other access issues in those easements. And then in addition to that, we're looking at putting in a fly line, which is a way to get people off of their direct connections to a 30-inch trunk along Stadium Way in Kentfield to reduce the risk of of a backup on a trunk sewer main. So our consultants are going to be evaluating ways to alleviate the risks associated with that along Stadium Way and part of McAllister. And yeah, in terms of project schedule, really quickly, we're looking to have our design completed by around November 8th of 2024 and bidding complete for this project January 15th of 2025. And, that would result in construction starting in February and completion of construction around November 5th of 2025 for this project. The design consultants that we've selected, West Valley Construction, they are the firm is new to us, but Daniel and Jasmine have done a lot of work for the district in the past, including updating our standards. Our current standards were updated with the help of with Jasmine and Daniel when they were working for Harrison Associates. I've worked with Daniel personally on the 2021 gravity sewer improvement project, and Daniel has the right touch. He really understands the ins and outs and boots on the ground that's necessary for working in our complex district. The terrain, the local inhabitants are, people, there are things that require careful consideration, and Daniel and Jasmine are no stranger to the design needs, what we need from a designer. They've had a fantastic track record working with our staff, operations and maintenance alike, to get a project that addresses those needs in a very efficient manner. And with that, I'll turn it over here to Jasmine. And I believe, why not? Come on up.
Yeah, imagine there's a podium there. 'Cause
Blue
there-
tile,
Yeah, there's
right on the
okay,
blue
yeah.
tile.
It'll be there for the next meeting, I think.
Over there.
Great.
My microphone.
Perfect. It is.
So
Great.
yeah,
Thanks.
thank you, Phil. He did give us give you guys some background. And so my name is Jasmine Cuffey. I'm the vice president of engineering for West Valley Construction. I've been there for 3 years, and prior I was with Harrison Associates. And as Phil mentioned, I was involved in helping you guys update your standards back in 2012. It wasn't, I think it was created in the 70s. And it was like a blue paper, you know, really just old and this thin. And then we updated it, and it's about 3 inches, a 3 inches binder. But anyway, so it it was great helping you guys out with that. And then since then we did roughly, Daniel and I and other members helped upgrade about 24 miles of pipe, and just really understanding the terrain and the sensitivity of the community, and the hard access for construction. We've used a lot of trenchless technology to try to get these projects done quickly and efficiently, and less impact to the public and the existing facilities and traffic. And so this project also involves relocating some easement lines, and we'll be sensitive to that, and to allow for maintenance to have better access in the future. We're excited because we like finding solutions for these type of challenging projects. This is what we went to school for. This is what makes our career exciting. We're with this West Valley Construction now. We're a design build company, and I was hired to help them build their engineering department. It was 5 people. We're up to 50 now, and just trying to build that so they could have support in engineering. And so we provide a resource for them to get projects out, design build projects. They're also a resource for us for constructability. It's nice to have that, just walk over next door and, talk to a construction guy and like, hey, is this feasible? What concerns do you have? And so it's nice to have that layer now to do my job even better. And so, we're honored to come back here again. I contacted Steve earlier this year and asked, like, is there anything else, is there any projects that we could help you with? And, he told us this was coming up. They're trying to figure out the next round of pipes. And so here we are today.
Terrific. Thank you. Board, is there any questions that any of you would like to ask at this time? Yes, Pam.
This is kind of a question for probably you. Jasmine talked about redirecting easements, and I'm curious, can you just give a little short sample scenario? Because I know those things can get weird.
Yes, certainly. So I believe, I'm sorry, I don't have my PDF page numbers on here, but
Yeah.
if you're looking at the project areas, there are some maps on there
Mhm.
toward the end of the,
This would be board packet page 236 has the Wolf Canyon easement example.
and then, yeah, so there's a detail area there for an area. If you see the address it's a purple parcel there with 16 Wolf Canyon Road. Yeah, so just one example here is the manhole that you see there that I'm calling out as abandoning. That manhole right now sits underneath a roughly 150-pound patio paver that the resident has placed on top of our sewer. Because it's right in the middle of their outdoor kitchen and next to their pool. And they want to have their patio there. We've gone back and forth with them about access issues. There are some other problems with the line that extends toward the southeast on there, that even with that manhole, It just doesn't provide us the appropriate access to that line to do repairs. We did a series of repairs on there using our typical point repair method that were somewhat harrowing, I would say. And it was just a Band-Aid fix for us. That line that you see going up toward the southeast is we're looking at, oh great, that line heading up over there is also right underneath a very expensive deck and a lot of improvements. It goes up a steep section of slope, and it's just in general poor access all around. What we're proposing to do there is to install a manhole at the upstream portion there, which would be the property line there where you see that easement line continue up, and rerouting it down a hill and out to Tamil Vista Lane, and then installing a run of pipe down to that point of connection with the main on Tamil Vista. That would then allow us to completely replace that section of pipe where we have what we call a blind T, where we have no access to a T, where there can be blockages. This one in particular had a grade 5 defect on it that we were able to repair trenchlessly. But as I said, it's not an ideal situation. So this would be one example of when we would reroute an easement line.
And also that's very good, Phil. Thank you. And just to add, we look for opportunities, and in this case, you do have the Tamil Vista Lane. It's a quasi public right away. I'm not sure if.
Yeah, I believe it mostly sits on the private property of this owner of 16 Wolf Canyon.
But it's still a roadway, which is easier to be able to situate a sewer, as long as there's not utility conflicts, but likely a good solution rather than being through somebody's patio area to actually have it on, a driveway. And so in this instance, we were able to identify at a planning stage what looks like a viable alternative alignment that deals with maintenance, deals with the private property interests, and in a multiple benefit way. So, but we do need design expertise to be able to get into the details of how feasible this is. So, good.
Yeah, I would also add that we also need willing property owners, because we are going to obtain private easements from them for this new routing of the pipe. So yeah, that's I would say a huge part of being able to do this. And to this point, my discussions with this property owner, they are very supportive of doing that.
Great example. Thank you.
Other board members at this time?
I'm assuming because we didn't seem to go out to bid or anything for this work, that there's a legal justification for a sole source.
Yeah, for design and professional services, our approach as staff is to do a bit of a blend. Last year, we did a competitive RFP and received 2 interested proposals. And so we've got a sense of who's out there, who's available to do the work. And this year, we felt it was the right business decision to do a sole source contract based on qualifications. We don't do that every time, but in this case, we felt it was a good fit.
In the finance committee, we talked about this, and it's about a $5 million project and a $500,000 contract, which is roughly 10%, which is normal in this kind of construction. So
yeah, we do
it
keep
seems
track
within the boundaries.
We do keep track of that relationship. We're going back now 10 years of data, and that's right, around 10%, maybe 9. It's 8
That's
to 10,
9.3.
8 to 10% or so is a good reasonable range for a budget. And remember, that's a budget, and the actuals can come in lower. It just depends on a lot of issues. I think we do a lot of in-house work, with Phil and myself, looking into feasibility and working with landowners already, up front, as you heard from Phil. So we achieve some efficiencies that way, thanks to in-house work.
Tom.
Yeah, I wanted to comment, this is a pretty expensive project for about, there's a pretty expensive project for about 2.9 miles. And is it because these are complicated projects?
Yes, they're rerouting an easement sewer line would be very complex. I would consider quite complex. The biggest outlier I would say is installing a new fly line. We don't have a very accurate estimate for what that entails. So the number proposed in that, in that preliminary cost estimate is going to be conservative on the higher side. So that may be why it seems a little bit higher, but for the length of pipe, I'm using relatively recent numbers for plugging in for the footages, but there are some areas where I have made conservative estimates, I would say, because there's a lot of unknowns looking at a map, doing some, site visits, and my knowledge is somewhat limited of where we don't have a pipe.
And everything's buried.
Just,
Yeah.
just a point here for a second. Pam and Tom, can you hear when Phil is talking? Because it's very soft to me. Maybe we can turn Phil's.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it better if I'm? Okay,
Yeah, I think
sorry.
I need to do that. Eat the mic more too.
Yeah,
Hello. Test.
in the past, yeah.
Okay.
But
Maybe we'll get everybody headphones.
I think when we have open cut construction and new alignments, you're dealing more with the $3.2 million a mile. Whereas if you're doing pipe bursting, it's more like $1.5 million a mile, so it's a big difference when we're doing new trenching. And I don't know if Jasmine or Daniel, you have any comments on the cost of the construction.
Well, the cost of the construction, we did a check on it as well, and it was in line with what Phil came up with, and using our resources with recent bid prices as well. So it's about a 5 million. It was in line with what Phil had calculated.
Thank you.
I have a question for Jasmine.
Who's that? Oh, you, okay. Hi.
It's on. Thank you very much. On the board packet 240, which is your level of effort pages,
Mhm.
I'm just wondering in general, and don't get specific, how do you come up with that?
So if the rates are billing rates, but the
Yeah, the rates I
hours
get.
are, the hours are based on our past experience on like per sheet. So we assumed, do we have an assumption how many sheets? So if you look at page 2.2 of 2 of the level of effort, we are counting 48 sheets. And so each sheet is given a certain number of hours based on the complexity of each sheet. And so that's how we figure out hours for each plan or for each milestone submittal. And then,
What's a sheet?
pardon me?
A sheet is a design of a sewer is on each
Oh,
sheet.
yes, I'm sorry. It's the plans.
Yeah, I know, but is there a sheet per project? One sheet?
Okay, so
Is
if
it
you,
24 projects? 48
no, so
projects?
if you look at 2, the 48 sheets are based on all the alignments, and we basically drew a key map that would be encompassed in a sheet. So based on a scale, that's how much footage of pipe could be fit in the sheet.
Yeah. Each sheet is a design of the project.
It's like
And it might-
one site could have 5 sheets.
Okay, that's one.
Yes,
I see.
depending on the length of it, right? So
Yeah, and typically there might be three manholes. If you had like a horizontal sheet, 3 manholes. I'm just throwing it out there. Maybe 4. It's 350 feet between each manhole. So 1,200 feet of the project, or 900 to 1,200 feet of the project. If there's a branch, there'd be. So if you wanted to convert length of sewer to sheets, that's about it's about what you'd come up with.
Yeah, you could fit roughly 450 to 500 feet of pipe in a sheet.
Yeah, across of it. Yeah. and
Across
then-
of it,
And then,
so-
and then you,
About 3 miles,
2.6,
2.8.
2.8. Anybody else? Doug, Tom, Pam, Mary? Pam,
I don't, maybe this is for you, Steve.
Closer, Pam.
The price per mile to rehab, including the engineering, including the whole, enchilada. Did you say 3 million? Did I hear that right?
yeah, it's really rough. And if you think of the design and the construction management is adding another 10% each, then, you do a quick 120% of 3 million, you're in the zone, between 3 and 4 million a mile. And it's getting a little more expensive, just with the construction cost index probably outpacing inflation. So it's within, it's affordable to us, we just may not get as many miles per dollar. But
When I was elected in 2010, it was $1 million a mile, I think. But
yeah,
that sounds about right with
that wouldn't, that
inflation.
probably, yeah, I don't know if it's escalated that much. We talk about that for rehab on an existing line via pipe bursting or
Mhm.
something like that. It's more cost effective. Million a mile might be, I don't know the latest, Phil, but
I wouldn't use that for budgetary purposes. But it, yeah, 2010 versus now is, it's, I don't want to say it's light years away, but it's the cost of construction,
Maybe, yeah.
construction cost index, even in the last few years has gone through the roof.
Yeah, what
in the
might
Bay Area.
might be double. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I don't always remember right, but I remember $100 or less a foot for pipe bursting in the 2000s.
Yeah.
So it's more like 175 an hour.
Yeah, or I would use 225.
Yeah, right. So
but
it's going
usually
up.
somewhere there about.
I have a question for Steve. If this can go down, shouldn't it say not to exceed 517, 232?
Yeah, it could.
The agreement is written that way. But the title, yeah, I guess.
It's implied because if you approve that much, if it exceeds that, we will have to come back to the board for approval. So it's
And what if
implicit.
they have less hours or takes less? You said sometimes it comes in lower.
Oh, well, most often it does. Yeah.
That's why I say it should say not to exceed.
Oh, well, that's in the agreement.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah, it's
Anybody
not
else
like a
from the board?
lump sum.
Anybody else from the board? I don't see any guests online.
Take a motion.
I would love a motion.
I would authorize the general manager upon review and approval of council to execute a consultant services agreement with West Valley Construction for design and engineering services during construction ESDC for fiscal year 24-25 gravity sewer improvement project number 958 in the amount of $517,232.
I'd like to second because I like the concept of the engineer and construction company team together. I think we haven't seen that before, and I think that should be a help for a difficult project. So I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries, unanimous vote. I see Steve back there going like this. Can we make sure that everybody can hear us? Tom in particular.
And turn it on.
I got to
Tom,
pull
eat
it
your
forward here.
No, it was on.
Oh, it was on, yeah.
Far
But,
away.
okay, did you not hear me?
Ah, there it is.
Well, I'm not going to repeat it.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, board members. And thank you, Jasmine and Daniel, for your interest in working here.
Thank you.
Okay, and now we want to do the ACFR and CAPFR number 8 and number 9.
Actually, I think it's just board item number 8. Is that correct?
Yeah. Okay. Number 8 is consideration of accepting the fiscal year 2023 financial audit and annual comprehensive financial report. Just before we start, I just like to, because I didn't note earlier and I meant to, but I was nervous with all this new equipment. This is our new boardroom, and it's the first time in 100 years that we have all of our facilities of the Ross Valley Sanitary District in one place. Before today, we had our headquarters on Kerner. We had our corporation yard where all the people kept their trucks and all that was at Larkspur Landing. And we also had out here on Anderson, a warehouse. We had everything. And we couldn't do that anymore. And so 5 years ago, we started looking for a new place where we could reside. And we looked all over Marin. And this came up, and it was owned by some people up in Sacramento, and somebody died and they put it up for sale. And Comcast, Xfinity had their offices here, and they didn't want the whole building anymore. So we said, we'll take the upstairs, and Xfinity would take the downstairs. And then it took, with pandemic and all, almost 4 years to get a lease that Xfinity agreed with to get to this point. During that time, Xfinity was paying triple net on everything. They paid for this building for 3.5, 4 years, which came out to a lot of money. And then as soon as we signed the lease agreement with them, we started renovations. And that's why you see this boardroom here. And it's fabulous. I hope it's good for the next 100 years. And we have a place to be upstairs where if we have an emergency, we don't have to worry who is where. Are they down at the Larkspur Landing or at the Kerner building? Everybody is here. We have every single last person here. We have really lovely changing rooms for them because they've been changing in trailers out Larkspur Landing. And so our staff should be very, very happy to be here. And anyway, I'm very, very happy to be here and very happy to have you all here for our very first meeting of the Ross Valley Sanitary District at 1111 Anderson. So I already read item 8, which is consideration of accepting the fiscal year 2023 financial audit and annual comprehensive financial report, ACFR.
Good. Well, thank you, President Borstein. Thank you for those kind words of celebration. For this item, this is an annual report that we and all public agencies in California perform. And this is the time of year when we present. It's sometimes confusing because we present on the fiscal year. So that ended June 30th. So this is a wrap up of the finance reporting for government accounting as of June 30th of this year. And so we're pleased to have John Cropper here, our new auditor that the board hired several months ago. And with that, I'd like to go ahead and hand it off to Felicia Newhouse, our finance manager, business manager, administrative and finance manager, and assistant general manager to further introduce this item. But thank you.
Thank you, Steve. And thank you, President Borstein, for the lovely introduction to the facility here and all of the rest of the board. One of the things I think I'd like to add, in addition to consolidation of the district operations, is a home for the board of directors to meet on a regular basis, whereas before, as you know, we were meeting at various locations throughout the district. And
Well, the public kept finding out.
and now there's one place that we're always happy to convene with you. So With that, as Steve mentioned, this is an annual audit that the district undertakes every year. In addition, there's the annual comprehensive financial report, affectionately known as the ACFR, which our finance supervisor, Corey Spray, is responsible for preparing. He's done a wonderful job again this year. I think there's an item in the consent calendar regarding an award to that effect. So Corey's here visiting with us remotely. The boardroom also is capable of a hybrid meeting, so we can meet in person and we can also entertain guests remotely, including our finance supervisor, Corey. John Cropper from Cropper Accountancy, our auditor, is here live and in person. This is his first year performing the annual audit for the district. And as the board knows, we typically engage with an auditor for, 3, 4, 5, up to 6 years. And then it's best practice and recommended to change auditors to get a fresh set of eyes on the district financial statements. And I'm very pleased to report that in our first year with this audit firm, very unusual to say that we did receive an unmodified opinion, a clean report. So we're proud, as we always have been annually, to say that our financial orders are in very good shape. So with that, I'll turn it over to John. And again, thank you, Corey, for all the work that you've done on behalf of the district in preparing the act for this year.
Thank you, Felicia. President Bornstein and honorable members of the board, it's a pleasure to be here in the first time you've ever had an auditor present in this building.
You were the first person to speak at our meeting, except board members.
That's true too. I'm going to have to note that in a journal tonight. I hope somebody else will. Maybe it'll make the independent. It was touched upon that Corey is online. We work closely with Corey. First year is always a battle. It wasn't such a battle this year because he actually did prepare the financial statements, the whole ACFR. We're primarily concerned on the ACFR with the financial statement section. There are 2 other areas that happen when they're submitted to the GFOA for an award, which I'm not diminishing the award, but it is a bit of a beauty contest. The transmittal letter and the information in the back, the statistical section, it's all great. A lot of sanitary districts are doing it. But the auditor audits the numbers, and we're mainly concerned with our opinion, which you hire us to do, first and foremost. And it was mentioned it's an unmodified opinion, and that's what's expected from a good entity like you. The MD&A, the management discussion analysis, which is entirely prepared by Corey and his staff. We read it over. It's unaudited, but we've tied it all in. But it gives a very good quantitative and qualitative. If you want a short read rather than 100 pages, you can go to that and get a pretty good idea of what's going on with the district. And then, of course, the audited financials and the notes. And in the back, there's some required supplementary information that has to do with OPEB and pension. We did talk about this quite a bit yesterday with the finance committee. I am here primarily for questions. I don't want to take up your time if you do not want the auditor. The auditor can go into quite a bit of detail, as people may know. I could regurgitate, what your assets are, your liabilities are, your revenues are. I think the most notable thing that was kind of pointed out is that the measurement date for your pension this last year, not your fiscal year, because we're presenting the June 30, 2023 year, but your evaluation dates for those pensions and OPEB are going back a year earlier, and the stock market went down. So you'll see quite a bit of change in your financials that might frustrate you as a board, because you had provided enough to be an asset last year, and now it's a liability so far as your pension liability. I think that'll switch next year. I'm not going to be a soothsayer, but I'm just going to say that thing goes up and down and we can't control it. It's just, it's a little bit frustrating, but some of these things we have to account for. So with that, I'm going to open it up for questions in the interest of time, and then I can go into but just be warned. I'm going to try and be brief, but yeah.
Anybody from the board? Okay, Mr.
Okay,
Gall.
I have a question. It's not quantitative. What if you recommended it's an unmodified opinion? What if we didn't get an unmodified opinion, which I knew we wouldn't happen to us? Do you then recommend that we change something? What happens?
So there are various opinions. There's the unmodified, which used to be called a qualified opinion. People didn't know what qualified meant, or unqualified opinion, because that was the equivalent of an unmodified opinion. And so it was confusing. So we could issue, instead of an unmodified, where we didn't touch anything, we didn't make any huge adjustments, we could qualify the opinion and say, except for your area here, which was material, and then kind of expound in the opinion on that. We could also disclaim an opinion. If we come in and we look at internal controls and we just look at your internal controls and say, we got a lot of segregation of duties issues. We saw some problems that we just aren't sure that these aren't so big that we're not comfortable saying the financial statements are fairly stated within a material amount. If we would maybe disclaim the opinion. And I actually have disclaimed opinions, and people find that very odd, but in a governmental arena, sometimes the state just wants to know. And so we have actually issued those kinds of opinions. When we get a trial balance, mostly from staff, good entities have almost already audited it. And you'll see in the back of your board letter written to you, we call it the SAS 114 letter, which talks about the most important things so far as sensitive estimates and most important notes. There's a couple small immaterial entries that we put in the back that we did, happened from time to time. And I think one of them was we got an attorney letter late and there was like $7,000 that we didn't really know about. We weren't going to adjust everything at the last minute. That kind of thing happens. But if it was material to the financial statements, we would have to adjust, and we would also issue a management letter. You have no management letter. So that indicates that we did not find a material journal entry. Your financial statements, when we got them, were fairly stated. We audited them. They were fairly stated. We issued our opinion, which said unmodified. I told you I could talk for a while, huh?
Anybody else? Doug, Pam, Mary?
Yep.
Nope.
Okay.
Also,
President?
Pam has a question.
On the bonds issue, can you briefly summarize? Because I think we have bonds from 2014, 2018, and I forgot the other.
You've
one.
been reading the financials. That's excellent.
I just didn't hear that long, and I was here for all those bond meetings. So
Yeah, let
just
me
kind of go, where are we?
Yeah, so I could tell you you're around 93 or 4 million. I'm trying to find a page here, and I'll get there. I know it's note 9 too, but let me set this down and let me find it.
Did you find it, John?
I'm close.
Did you find page 26?
I've managed to shuffle things.
Oh dear. Okay. Well then, when you,
For the summary?
Yes, there is a summary. That's the
Yes.
summary I was looking for, so I could competently talk about this. Thank you.
oh, thank you, Paul.
That's it.
Very good, Paul.
I'll be coming to the audience for all my information.
Our deputy
Um,
finance staff.
Page 26, table 7. This is also in the notes, note 9, but you can see the listed bonds that you have, that the revenue bond from 2013, the revenue bond for 2014, 18, 19, and then in the new this year, the state revolving fund. Okay, so that just happened in the fiscal year that your auditor is auditing. The revenue bonds and that state revolving fund, they add up to $94 million, a little over. Happen to know this just by memory, but I think you retired about $3.2 million in debt this year. So if you looked at that 3.2 million coming away and then adding a $1.7 million in the current year, that would kind of reconcile your 1.4 on the change year to year. So that's a combination of new debt and paid off debt.
Okay, I get to comment on that.
Tom, please.
That is not the bond outstanding.
You're not on.
That is.
You're not on.
Oh, no, hold on. I need to comment on that. That is not the bond principal outstanding. That is the bond principal plus the unamortized premium. So when we sold our bonds for like $1,000 bond, we got $1,080 or something like that per bond. So the amount of principal, which is, I brought this up before, the principal amount of bonds outstanding, 88 million, something like that.
Yeah,
And
something
the,
like
and
that.
the other is
86.
just an amortization amount. So our bond amount is, and then we added the state revolving fund. I think it's about 87 or something like that. That's why it's good to read audits, because they're built for auditors. That's my theory. And that's the accepted way to do it for auditors. You know, the way it's done here, of course.
Yeah, sometimes there's a little bit of money that's the premium or the discount, depending on how things work, which is a relatively small portion of the overall debt. It's what we would consider immaterial to the whole thing, but it was in those numbers in the MD&A, like board member Gaffney said, those are combined in there, but it's a relatively, it largely does represent the principal.
It's over $6 million more than we really owe. So I think it's material.
I'm
I mean,
not
you
sure
know,
what that
for-
number is.
But anyway, that's enough.
Thank you, Tom.
I'd like to thank the staff for all their hard work on this, and especially Corey. You know, everybody's been praising you, and you know, we had the same unmodified report over at the Central Marin Sanitation Agency, and there was another spray who was in charge of that one. So I just,
Ken.
yeah, I know. So anyway, thank you to
I
all
think I
of you.
recommend, I kind of see a couple board members here that might have been there that day.
Anyway, any other comments from the board at this time?
No.
So
May I hear a motion?
yes, I'd like to make a motion.
Okay.
I
Yes.
move that we accept the fiscal year 2023 financial audit and annual comprehensive financial report.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Motion carries unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John.
As long as we're heaping praise here for 1 second. We're a sanitation agency. That's what we do. And over the past 4 or 5 years, we have been lease negotiators, project management, design consultants. We've asked Steve Moore, Felicia Newhouse, and now Paul Bremer also to do work on this building in addition to taking care of 200 miles of pipes in the district through torrential rains last year and they kept up on anyway. Paul Bremer is, I know, one of the unsung heroes here, because every time we were here for a facilities meeting, we went around with Paul, and the amount of minutia that was being handled and changed on the fly was really phenomenal. And to be able to move in, and having been here about 2 weeks now, with, as far as I know, no issues, is really terrific. So I hope we're here for another 100 years, which was my plea 4 years ago. Anyway, next. Committees report out. Finance Committee. You want to go for that?
Sure. The Finance Committee reviewed most of the consent calendar, including the monthly financials, and we found that currently this is the low part of our cash position for the year. It's just before we receive all of our charge money from the county, which is collected. So I believe later this month, in December, we'll get our cash available will go up. We also spent a lot of time on the audit and the finances and the various financial reports, and reviewed, of importance, which we probably won't discuss in the unless we pull it from the consent calendar, but we continued our annual payments for the smart cover system and the CMMS software, which runs our maintenance and management programs. And they cost less than an employee, each of them, but they probably enable our staff to really do their work. So they're quite a bargain for us. And I think that's it.
Yeah, the CMMS system, which is on the consent calendar, has been with us since, I think, 2002, 2012, and still providing us valuable information and up to date. And so it's I think, been terrific. CMSA.
Mike on?
Okay.
CMSA.
Yep. CMSA, we looked at a regional charge adjustment, meaning what are we charging our agencies, and the general manager and assistant general manager were aware of that. We chose to move them up from fiscal 25 through 28 to 4.5% increase per year. That's because of the huge cost of chemicals that are just killing us. I mean, we've had chemical that, I think went from 450 and doubled last year, and it's doubling again this year. So that's just one chemical. It's really hard. And we looked at the 2023 fiscal annual comprehensive popular financial reports, which we're in great shape over there. The proposed Operation Succession Plan, because we're having a couple of senior people leave. So Jason's kind of moving things around a little bit. He's adding sort of a temporary positions that'll be moved up. So that was good. The pilot program with Beyond the Dome. This was something that we were going to do last year, but the pandemic kind of messed that up. The Beyond the Dome is doing supercritical water oxidation process to break down organic materials. So it's a different way to break down organic materials. And it's a pilot program. So this is something that would probably cost us a lot of money, but it's not going to cost us any money, and we're cooperating with them. And so they're going to play and try and help us find better ways to break down our organic material. Sanitation District letter of request. So I wanted to send this down. I know we can't discuss this tonight, but I wanted to just make you guys aware of that. So you take one of these. And I have two more if you need them over there. This was a letter to the Central Marin Sanitation Agency Board from the San Rafael District saying that they'd like to discuss changing the relationship a little bit. And what you have on the next pages is the meeting notes, the staff report of the November 13th Board of Directors meeting of San Rafael Sanitation District, where they discussed what they could do to change, because they're finding it's difficult to recruit because all of their employees are city employees, and our employees are more specialized, so our employees get paid more. And so they're having trouble with that. So they had some different thoughts, and I'm not going to discuss it tonight because it's not on the agenda, but I'd like to ask that it be put on the agenda, this item. And this came originally from me and Mary Beth Bushy having discussion about shared services and consolidation some months ago. I'm going to continue to have discussions with her, but I'd like to have this put on the board.
Okay, we'll have staff review it and come back. Okay. I think the next one is North Bay Watershed Associate. Oh, if I could just point out one thing that CMSA, when they do their ACFR and PAFR, I think it's convenient. They put them not in the board packet directly. But for me, it made it much easier to be reading it and then put it down for a little bit. And it was easier than finding where you were in the entire board packet. I don't think it changes the way anything is, but might be nice for next year just to see it separately.
Thank
It
you.
worked really well. Okay. North Bay Watershed Association.
Yes, we met December 1st. It was at the Novato Sanitary District. And let me get close to this. So I just got a brief description of the North Bay watershed because I report out every month, and I'm wondering if you all remember what they're actually doing. It is a group of diverse regional and local public agencies throughout the North Bay region working to craft regional approaches to managing our common watershed. Association members work cooperatively on water resources issues and go beyond traditional boundaries to promote good stewardship of the North Bay watersheds. And we had a guest speaker that day, Warner Chabot, and his presentation was why we need bold regional governance and finance innovations to underpin advancements in climate science and engineering. He is from the San Francisco Estuary Institute, the Aquatic Science Center. So he described the Bay Area's $110 billion reconciliation with climate change by 2050, case studies of advances in scaled adaptation, and the crucial roles our public agency leaders and decision makers have in meeting these epic challenges. And he did some presentations on what he's been up to. The big thing is the April 19th, our conference, which I believe we haven't had one pre-COVID. I think it's been that long. And it will be at Sonoma State University. So we're partnering with a larger institution. We want to get those young people involved. And I'm on a small committee with Jean and Megan and Jack. And so we're working together to get that all prepared. I'll find out more probably the next meeting, which is January 5th. Thank you.
If I could just add a couple of points that kind of blew me away. He talked a lot about Highway 37 and what's happening with that currently. And really, there are two possibilities. And one is the less expensive short-term widen and raise up Highway 37 a little bit. The other is full-blown causeway. And he seemed to me to be of the opinion that we really should look long-term on this and build a causeway and figure out how to fund it, maybe with infrastructure bill from the guy. Who knows how it's going to get there, but it's a lot more expensive. But the number that blew me away was the amount of dirt that would be necessary to fill in the areas north of 37 was the amount of dirt that was pulled out of the Panama Canal when they were building it. It's of that level. It would be the largest wetland restoration in the United States with that much. And that number just blew me away because I remember reading about the building of the Panama Canal and what an ordeal that was. So thank you, Pam. Visual report by general manager. Visual. Okay, this is where we have the sign language. A verbal report by general manager, please.
Thank you, President Borstein and board members, and thank you for those updates. I have a very brief verbal report for this month. Really just two things. One is the 1111 Anderson project. Yes, we're virtually complete on the remodeling project, the headquarters project, the interior. But we're still working on the exterior, the site work. You came here probably when it was getting dark, so you can't necessarily see all the progress, but we have completed the paving. And so we have the sewer vehicles parked outside these windows behind me. But we haven't done the striping yet. There's still decorative fencing planned that will be in the front area where there's an outdoor employee area, as well as on this side, on this left side of the building facing the street. And so that is a specialty item on order. And then we're still getting automatic gates that we had at Kerner. We're getting them set up here, so that'll be more efficient than having to take these temporary gates and physically lock them. So that's another item that's not quite done yet. So we're guessing for these outstanding items and the pavement striping, the next 3 to 4 weeks, we should see significant progress. And also, when the weather clears up, we expect rapid progress on the landscaping and the pavers out front. So that should move fairly quickly once we get some clear weather. So we're fortunate that we had some windows of clear weather to get the paving done here, before it got too deep into the winter. So we're pretty grateful for that. And I can see Paul and Josh in the audience have some degree of relief that
I remember a while back how the time frames are changing. It used to be, well, maybe a year, maybe 2, and then it's about a half a year. And then we got down to months of granulation, and now we're down to weeks of granulation. So
yeah,
that's very nice.
Yes, that's true. So we're coming right along. We'll expect to have the logo of the Ross Valley Sanitary District behind you, hopefully in time for next board meeting. That's the goal. We'll see if that all comes together. But you may have noticed the sign out front. We actually repurposed some decals that we had in the back rooms at the Kerner building. So that was a very economically efficient sign project out there in the front. It was just our guys got some plastic at Tap Plastics down the street and mounted that sign. So Paul, thank you for getting the troops together to do that. That was great. They're also the awning. And board members have asked about, the window cleaning and that sort of thing. We're waiting until, the dust literally settles around our work, and then we're going to do the cleaning. We're going to put the new awning out. We have it already, but we're waiting for the construction to be complete to put it on. And then we'll have the letters of Ross Valley Sanitary District on the awning. So with the font that's on Paul's hat. So that it's a good look. So we're excited about getting ever so more close to completion. But it's fantastic to be here with you here in calendar year 2023 and actually have our first board meeting officially here. One thing that's that report, and happy to answer any questions. The second thing I wanted to touch on is that we're a little ahead of the game compared to 5 years ago. We're working on the sewer rate study along with the looking at capacity charges and permit fees kind of in one effort. Last time, 5 years ago, we had it split into 2 efforts, you might remember. And so at the finance committee yesterday, we brought back Mark Hildebrand, who did the work for us 5 years ago. And the finance committee had a chance to see some preliminary modeling and analysis of potential sewer rates going forward. We're at the end of our 5-year adopted sewer rates under Prop 218. And so we'll be initiating a process early next year meeting the deadline, by June 30th to have formally adopted new sewer rates for the forthcoming 5 years. And so we had some preliminary review of our finances and a little bit of a retrospective by having the same consultant. He was able to compare where we are now to where he predicted we'd be back in 2019. And I think all financial indicators were favorable, in terms of just being on track with our capital program, being a little bit under budget on the operating costs compared to what was predicted. So the board will get a good overview of the details of this, and Finance Committee can keep you updated as well. I think the schedule on that is maybe to come back to the board in February, I believe, or yeah. So there'll be another presentation based on some feedback of the Finance Committee to the Finance Committee in, I think, January is planned, and then February the full board will have the presentation from Mark on proposed draft sewer rates. So that's coming up, but things look favorable, in terms of what kind of goals we generally have spoken to. It looks like, and just, as your district engineer, from my perspective, we feel confident that we can move into a pay-as-you-go capital program for the next 5 years. And that's, it's really an achievement that we can all share. Getting out of the cease and desist order accelerated program, financing that with bonds, and then now looking ahead, not really seeing a need to issue bonds in the foreseeable future. So that's one of the stories of a few that we'll hear more about in the next couple months. So with that, happy to answer any questions.
Well, I have a comment. What Mark said was that all the agencies, or it seems like the majority of the agencies he works with, plan capital improvements and only do about half of them. And so one of the benchmarks that he mentioned was, boy, you guys did just about all the projects you said you were going to do, in addition to our O&M went down a little bit. So it was a real good recap.
Do we have any idea of whether the rate study is going to take into account the revenue from the Larkspur Landing property at this point, or whether that's timely?
Yeah, that actually continues to be, as 5 years ago, there are no assumptions about that property and its disposition. So that continues to be a neutral factor. It's something we can look at more, we can talk about in the Finance Committee, but since it's all speculative, we really, and Mark hasn't indicated that it makes sense to make any kind of assumptions about that. I think, on that point, there continues to be a lot of uncertainty, but it's working itself out within the city of Larkspur's general plan and housing element process. There was a meeting of the Planning Commission this month where a decision wasn't going to be made necessarily, but they're queuing up the approvals. This is, as you know, behind schedule, as far as what their original goals were. So there's not an imminent decision, but it's in the works, and we might see movement on the general plan and housing element in January, February of next year. And really, we can't make any changes to the current entitlements, as you've heard in the informational presentations that are on the website that we can remind ourselves there are entitlements on that property for an old project that included a headquarters for Ross Valley Sanitary District. And you're sitting in the headquarters of the Ross Valley Sanitary District, and it's not at Larkspur Landing. So until those entitlements are unwound, there really is no path forward for us to make any changes at that property. And so hopefully we'll see some movement in that in the next couple of months.
I mean, part of it was me asking if we could get to pay go without Larkspur Landing, and the answer is yes. Okay, so that's good news.
I think if Larkspur wants tax revenue from that location, they're going to need to make some changes themselves. And if we're not going to do anything, I think that might incent them to reconsider some of their decisions.
Yeah, and then you may have some questions about Kerner. And so we're going to have an item about that in January to be able to discuss what options the board has for the next steps at our old headquarters.
Is that completely empty? Is there furniture in there? Is there?
There's still furniture in there. But you know, it's every day's new information. We just were talking about it today with Paul. I believe the back shed area has been, the crews moved things out of that area today, so we're continues to be a dynamic process for the next few weeks. But it's getting cleared out and there is furniture there. Rather than rush to surplus it or demolish it, we want to be thoughtful, about, who might end up using the facility in the future and if they could reuse things, right?
And I'd also add, we still shop there a little bit. We realized, oh, we need an extra filing cabinet. Let's run back to Kerner and pick that one up that we left there. So we're still, like Steve said, it's a dynamic situation over the next couple of weeks.
Which, we do appreciate that, having that luxury of not being in a rush to get out of there for the next tenant or that sort of thing. We appreciate the board allowing us that flexibility to methodically move from that location to here, at least until January.
I'd just also like to note about 1111 here. For any of our constituents who may watch us at some point, how any energy efficient we tried to make it upstairs. The lights are off in the offices until somebody walks in. The temperature gauge, it's all per office, so we don't blast heat into offices where there's nobody there. And so over time, that should save us money maintaining this building. So
yeah, it's one thing I was reminded of not long ago is I believe the circulation system it's designed around a certain number of exchanges, volume exchanges. It's really good for health to have these exchanges of air in the working space that are fairly regular and often, and so there's fresh air coming through constantly.
terrific.
Yeah. It's
Thank
really we've achieved state of the art in some areas, and that's one of them.
So number 6, verbal report by board members and requests for future items. We have one for Doug, which I submit that staff come back with what we ought to do about looking at that. Anybody else have anything that they'd like? Tom Gaffney.
I think we should have an agenda item considering a contribution to the CASA Educational Fund. I wish we'd done it earlier, but I just thought about it because there was the contribution for the North Bay Association, but CASA has a really good educational fund. There's some nominal amount to get us represented. So maybe
Maybe we can do that before the board meeting in January.
I think it needs to be a board approved.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
It would either be on a future agenda or you'd have to schedule a special meeting for that item. If you're trying to get it done before the CASA conference,
Yeah. But,
Director Gaffney? Yeah.
I don't know if we can, but eventually.
Okay. Consent calendar.
I just
Ooh,
wanted to
oh.
add, after reviewing what Doug handed out, I do think that this is an opportunity because we are in San Rafael now. And just reading it over briefly, it seems like the citizens of San Rafael could probably use a better sanitation department, sanitary district. So, and just knowing Kate Collin personally and Katie Rice personally. So I would second his wish for that to be an agenda item and for us to seriously consider it because we'd be better than CMSA in my humble opinion.
would be better than what?
CMSA. At several places, it says CMSA or members of the JPA.
Yeah, but this is, yeah, anyway, enough said. Yes.
Yeah, we'll work with you, the president, and coming up with an agenda item. It's not terribly clear what that is to me at this second.
Yes,
But
exactly.
let's have some discussions and talk about how we can structure that and what work staff can do to present where we're at.
Exactly. Thank you.
Thanks.
Consent calendar. Matters listed under this item are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion. The consent calendar may include resolutions. Therefore, the motion, the second, and vote will also be applicable to the resolutions and recorded accordingly. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless requested by a board member or the public prior to the time the board votes on the motion to adopt. Board members, anything anybody would like to pull? I know Tom does.
Yeah, I want to pull item C.
So do
for
I.
Emphasis.
Okay.
My thoughts exactly.
Anybody else? So let's do item C and then we'll vote the consent calendar all in once.
Point of information,
Yes, ma'am.
President Borstein, I believe Director Silla would like to pull item H.
Where is Director Silla?
Item,
Oh, sure.
what letter?
Oh, sure.
Regarding the 2024 meeting calendar.
7H.
H.
H.
Yeah,
Okay.
H, sorry.
So we're
As-
looking at
On behalf of all people with school-aged children.
C and H. So let's discuss C first. Tom?
Okay, well, it turns out that all of our financial documents are winning awards, and this is the trifecta. We won the an award for the annual comprehensive financial report, the popular annual financial report, and the annual budget. And it's a fairly rare situation. There's discussion of how rare it is, but it's quite an achievement for us. Just another of a long list of awards we're winning. But I'll bet our auditor didn't have to do anything. I'll bet you he just kind of checked the additions because Corey did all the work and Felicia, but probably a lot of it from Corey. So I'd certainly like to congratulate Corey and the district and our finances. They're just in good shape.
Thank you very much for
That's
the
what I was gonna,
recognition.
that's why I want to pull it as well. It's just really great. And I hope these are all, because there's three of them in this. Need to start a wall,
Yeah, that's what
Yes, absolutely.
maybe out there.
Yes. Agreed.
does staff win? Is there a $50 award for these?
No, that's an interesting question, Director Gaffney. The policy for monetary awards to employees actually is only related to industry awards specific to sanitation district, sanitary district. So CWEA awards, CASA awards, and other similar type associations, I guess, American Water Works or something like that, but not GFOA is not specifically considered.
I think maybe a future item might be that we could look at some of these, if they're eligible for awards.
Pat on the back is always good.
That's what they're getting now.
Yeah. Okay.
We can give these out.
That's right.
Wait, that's mine.
And H, item H, Mary?
Yes, thank you. It was pointed out to me that the February board meeting was going to fall during the President's Week recess that a lot of the kids get off. And so I'd like to move that meeting to February 14th. And then I guess the Finance Committee meeting would be moved to February 13th. Just 1 week earlier so that vacations can take place.
Mary, isn't ski week January 17th week? My grandson was.
Not
No.
in the Ross, not in the Kentfield School Districts or the Tamalpais Union High School District. The 17th, that's Martin Luther King Day.
Yeah, I'd like to.
time.
I'd like to do what Mary says.
Okay, with
Say again,
no more
sorry.
comment.
I'm fine with moving those up.
Great, thank you.
With that, I move the consent.
Do we have to have yeah, okay, that'll be on, so that we'll modify the consent calendar. to
We'll modify the
reflect-
calendar
Yeah. to
per
reflect-
request. And with that,
And the
I'll move the
consent.
consent.
Okay,
Well,
second,
I'll second the consent calendar.
okay.
Point of information.
Yes,
Since we pulled H and we made a change, we need to vote on H specifically, and then we need to vote again on the consent
okay,
for the
so
remaining items.
let's go back to H for 1 second. Do I have a motion?
I move that we accept Mary Silla's changes of those dates for the calendar for next year.
Which is,
I'll
just
second.
say it out loud.
Rescheduling the February meeting to February 14th with the Finance Committee meeting taking place on February 13th.
So move.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Now I
do
move
have a motion?
consent.
Okay. go
And
ahead.
I'll second the consent calendar.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. And let's now move to item, not many left here. Okay, we did 8, we did 9. No,
No,
we didn't do 9.
Nope.
Okay, the popular annual financial report, the PAFR. Consideration of accepting the fiscal year 2023 popular annual financial report. General Manager Moore.
thank you, President Borstein. This was, as you noted earlier, when we hired Corey Spray as our finance supervisor, he started an initiative to adopt a popular annual financial report, as well as put the budget together in a way that would enable us to win the Distinguished Budget Award. And so I would go ahead and echo, our I want to give him a lot of credit for these accomplishments and spearheading them. And I think it really reflects well on our agency to try to convey the financial information in a way that is easier to understand as a layperson, as a ratepayer, as a member of the public, and even as a general manager and as a board member, and so I want to thank Corey, of course, but also Courtney Buell, who assisted with the graphic design. She has a lot of skills and talent in this area. And I guess I should mention that she is going to leave us. She's moving to Los Angeles. And so this is a nice way for us to recognize her contributions to the district. There have been many, but among them, a lot of graphic design work that we've done in print and on the website. And so this is a nice compilation, and we'll continue this tradition here in terms of our conveyance of information in a visually pleasing and understandable way. It's something that we've at the management level always tried to pursue, and it was great working with Courtney these last 2.5 years. But we also do this with our consultant Ardura. And we'll continue to maintain this commitment. So I just want to make those remarks introducing the item. It's a nice way to see, our revenues and expenditures and other issues displayed in a way that hopefully you found interesting to go through and can use as a resource to show interested members of our district how we're doing financially and what the indicators are that we're tracking. With that, I don't know if you have any other comments, Felicia.
Oh, I would just maybe mention that the letter from the GM, which is also included in the ACFR. So the PAFR is sort of a consolidated and pleasingly presented, I will say, information from the ACFR. The general manager's letter, which is on page 2 of the PAFR, lists some notable achievements over the past fiscal year, again, ending June 30th of 2023. I think it's worth, acknowledging that the district has been the recipient of several awards over the last year, and that our credit standing has been raised with Fitch. And we've also managed to achieve a 90% funding ratio with our pension liabilities. So just a few of the outstanding achievements that the board and district staff have accomplished. And then just as a side note, I noticed during the finance committee Director Gaffney had some fun recognizing the Green Bray treatment plant circa 1923 on page 3 of the PAFR. So again, gives us an opportunity to show our ratepayers and the general public some interesting, not only financial information about us, but also our deep and rich history in the Ross Valley District. That's all.
There are 2 dairy cows in that picture. They're hard to see. They're under
And
the trees.
is that the Larkspur Landing proper? Is that?
No,
No.
that is right behind Bon Air.
Wells Fargo, yeah.
It's
Okay.
kind of
Bank of
near our
America.
pump station.
America, yeah.
It's at the pump station location, actually. So it's pump station 13. So this picture is looking from the hill behind it where there's currently apartment buildings. And it's looking out, and that dirt road is Sir Francis Drake Boulevard. And then those are the hills of Green Bray above it that are now covered in a subdivision. I don't know if those oak trees are still there. They might be. There's that little cluster of oak trees at the Bon Air Center entrance. There may be some remnants of that. They live a long time. So yes, very good. I really liked how the current capital projects are indicated in here. Just really,
Oh, yeah.
it has everything. And then a nice photo of you all at the ribbon cutting. Signifying the end of accelerated capital program at Ross Valley Sanitary District.
So
Terrific. There's no more questions. Do I hear a motion?
Oh, I would move to accept the,
Staffer.
yes, the fiscal year, accept the fiscal year 23 popular and annual financial reports, which I love. I get rid of my board packet, but I keep this.
and I
Second.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, motion carries. I'd like to we have one more guest here tonight that we don't normally have, Michael from, I think, Community TV. Michael is here and he helped us to set up this whole thing with the video and the Zoom calls and all of our beautiful microphones and everything else here. And it seems to be working out quite splendidly. So thank you, Michael, for doing that.
It's just that we need training with the microphones.
Yeah, but that's not their problem.
Oh,
Okay. Performance metrics. Thank you.
Yes, for our information, we have 2 information items because it's that time of year where we get the MBS report, which Felicia will describe. But first, we have Paul here joining us for our first board meeting in the new facility. And I think I'll go ahead and hand it over to Paul to give some highlights, except I will note one thing. You had asked about it and we had been thinking about it anyway, but if you look at board packet 249, this fiscal year, we started reporting the flows from individual pump stations. And now we've created the graphic that shows you what basins in the district sewer shed are upstream of each pump station. So you have a geographic rendition of how much the pump stations are pumping from an aerial standpoint. So that might be interesting. It's color coded so that the pie colors are the same as the map colors. So anyway.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for your time. It's exciting to be here. Glad to see you all here. It's taken a lot of work, but want to highlight some of the good work the crews out in the field were doing while we were busy doing all this here. So staff got to get out of the office a little bit and attend Northern Safety Day in Woodland, California. So overall good through CWA, California Water Environmental Association. And it's a one-day event to go over safety in our field, wastewater. They get to meet new vendors. They get to see new procedures and whatnot, the way people are doing it in other agencies, and get to meet and talk. And it's a really good once a year event. So they got to go do that, about half of the crew. We flip flop every year. One half will go, then the other half, just to spread it around and make sure we're still getting some work done. The pump crew, recently we just received that new towable generator this last year that you guys had approved and we ordered. So we had a planned PG&E outage, and we used that as a time to do some hands-on training with staff that were a little less familiar, and went around and powered the Riviera Circle, did hands-on training, ran the new generator, make sure it cycled everything. So it was really good hands-on test for staff with wet weather coming and everything like that. So it was really beneficial. The line maintenance crew responded to a smart cover alarm recently, right across from the San Anselmo fire station. Received a high level out there. Smart cover was an early detector out there and notified us, so we were able to get on site ahead of time, and it actually prevented a spill or a possible spill right at San Anselmo Creek. So it was a really good save. We want to continue to show you guys the work that smart cover is doing for us in these early indicators. It's been really big. It's helped us catch a couple spills before they happened. And it's been really great.
Was that during a rain event?
I was going to ask the same
That
thing.
that was not during a rain event.
What was the cause of?
This is a double barrel siphon, and it had just started to build up some grit underneath the creek there. So what we did is reviewed the smart cover trends, because you can see the level and flow on those lines, and then we adjusted our cleaning frequency to make sure that we don't get there again. The repair crew completed 2 projects and eliminated up to 315 feet of abandoned gravity line. You know, we have one of the oldest systems in California, so old abandoned broken lines are found here and there, but they let in a lot of infiltration, a lot of gravel, a lot of dirt into the system that caused spills. So it's a high priority to locate these abandoned lines and cap them off from our system, so that we're not paying to treat the groundwater and have to clean these lines, get gravel and everything out. One of the lines was in Fairfax, which eliminated 300 feet, and the other was in Sleepy Hollow, which was about another 15 feet of pipe. And then the condition assessment crew, doing routine CCTV tasks, discovered a surcharge line over in Fairfax. The CCTV crews are out there, kind of our eyes in the field underground. And this is the second surcharge line they found in the past 3 months or so, and saved us another spill. So I'm really proud to say that they're seeing stuff, they're saying stuff, they're alerting us to what they're seeing out there. And this surcharge line was a failing patch. So we found some of these in recent years. We've come to find out it was possibly due to a bad epoxy batch that we had received on a discount at one point. So we've been going through and pinpointing all these and resurveying them. Josh Hill over here has been working really hard with the repair crew, and we're coming up with new systems to ensure that these patches last longer and that they're being resurveyed every 2 months to verify their holding. So we're really working on our condition control with the patches and whatnot, the repairs we're putting into our system, not just setting and forgetting, because we found, like I said, we found some that were peeling off and whatnot. We're working to rectify that. And that's kind of my highlights that I have right now. Doug, I did want to respond to you. There was a question at last month's board meeting about the camera systems that we purchased, and their warranty is a 1-year warranty.
Good. Thank you.
You have any,
Appreciate
anybody
you
have
looking
any
at that.
questions?
How long ago was the bad batch of epoxy, do you think?
It was about 5 years ago, I would say.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really thank Paul for encouraging the crews to communicate. it's something that makes a huge difference in this preventive mindset and trying to achieve new lows and the number of spills that we have each year. It takes this kind of enhanced communication, and it relates a lot to our RVSD Way initiative. You know, sharing expertise and knowledge is one of those behaviors that we want to encourage and enhance communication. And I think everybody's walking the talk here, you know, in terms of finding things, communicating with other crews that would find it useful, communicating to engineering to incorporate into capital projects or short-term capital level repairs. And so I see an evolution here in this district that's really positive. And I want to thank Paul and Josh, who's here, is a big part of that too. That communication between crews is going to help us achieve very difficult goals to achieve.
Thank you.
Wait, Paul? Sorry, I want to ask about the SSO.
Okay.
Where was that?
I don't have that page. Let me get that page real quick. Sorry.
Can I make a comment?
Absolutely.
If this is a change order. I think that there should be a camera facing the speaker. You know, I guess it's that camera. Maybe we could run it through the top and don't you think?
It would be
Yeah, we can-
here, looking that way.
We had
the door.
actually planned on the podium being about where Christina's sitting.
Yeah.
And that would have captured the presenter in the manner I
capturing
think that you would have prepared. I'm sorry?
It's not capturing Kristen.
But if they were standing right there,
Oh, actually,
they would have been captured. Yeah, right there. That was the original intent of the presenter location and the podium location. However, the staff table had to grow, and when it grew, it created a challenge with the podium location. So we understand that it's not an ideal. We're experiencing the same thing that you're experiencing, seeing that the presenter over there has got their back to the camera. So we'll look into that.
Yeah.
A better solution.
And over, I don't know, something
So it's
won't be easy.
if you did add a camera, I think it would be best here because that way you're capturing the room.
Well,
I'll look at all.
That way, just to get the speaker. Why do we have the rest of the room?
There may be reasons, you know.
I'll tell you what, staff has done great so far. Figure it out and let us know.
I'll figure
Exactly.
it out. Thank you.
Yeah, on the sewer spill this month was a line where there's a lot of root intrusion, and it's in that Wolf Canyon area, the Wolf Grade, and so it's upstream of some work that we did. So it wasn't work we did, but it was upstream of it. And so we're going to work it into the capital project that you just heard the design contract over. Yeah. But yeah. go
Yeah,
ahead.
sorry about that, Doug. Yeah, it was off of Wolf Grade, and we've already worked with Doug. It was due to roots in the line. We've looked at patch repairing it, but it's almost every joint. So we've really worked to get the roots out, and then we're going to add it to this Wolf Grade project.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Anything else?
Nope.
Okay.
Nothing on the monitoring report.
Okay,
or monthly
11B.
metrics.
Which is the Ross Valley District. Bunch of different things. So
Yeah,
General
yeah.
Manager Moore.
Oh, Felicia, maybe could give you just a quick, what's in this annual report we received from our contractor NBS?
Thank you, Steve. Yes, so the NBS is a organization that we've been using for the past several years. They help us prepare the annual levy onto the property tax roll that the district reviews in July of each year before it goes to the county. And this is just a summary of the annual levy for all of our service area, which is the first few pages of the information item. And you'll see on its board packet page 270, that there's actually several, I wouldn't say hundreds, but possibly a couple of hundred pages anyway, of the actual detailed levy amounts. Every single parcel is listed. We did not include that in your paper packet. But that's what this is. This is basically a detailed summary of every levy of every property in the district, as well as a roll up of all of that information, divided by areas. So the Ross Valley Sewer Service Charge Area, the Larkspur Sewer Service Charge Area, and then the Murray Park Sewer Service Charge Area in the first report. And then the second report, which starts on board packet page number 271, is a summary of the lateral replacement loan program and the new septic to sewer loan program. And there's some interesting information in here. I think we have one septic to sewer loan, and I'm not sure if it actually made it into this fiscal year. Let's see if I can.
Right. Yeah.
It might be actually in the current fiscal year. So that'll show up next December's report. As the board recalls, the board approved an increase for loan amounts up to $50,000 for septic to sewer conversions. And
Yep. And I remember offhand, I think last year was 87 loans outstanding, and now this year is 98. So that's an interesting little data point.
And then the last report included in the information item is the Canyon Road Assessment District. And that starts on board packet page 284. And the one thing I would report on this is this is a bond for a special assessment district, and the bond is set to mature in September of 2026. So we're coming up into the end of that special. Yeah, we can get it off our books. Exactly. We're very pleased with NBS and the services that they provide, and we're particularly happy to present these reports, these annual reports to the board, because we think they're very informative and a good summary of information, some complex data. Thank you.
I have one quick question, and I'm not sure if it's supposed to be in here, but the people who have accounts or low income, is that in here? Because I must have missed it if it is.
It is not in here. It is part of the first report where you have the detailed levy amounts for all district ratepayers. And you would see, if we included all of those pages, that some parcels receive a discounted rate. They don't pay the full rate. So for example, and I can ask NBS to include some separate information about that program. I think that's actually a very good recommendation, Director Meggs, if you'd like to have that included.
Yes, please.
Maybe after the section 1.3 on board packet page 268, where it talks about the sewer service charge rates, we could also include another section after that about the discounted rates.
Great. Thank you.
I think
Thank you.
somewhere in this packet, I can't tell you where it is, but we have a total of 198 or something like that, people who apply for that senior discount or low income.
Yes, that's right. It's about, I thought it was about 150.
Yeah, okay.
And I don't remember seeing it specifically in here, but as noted, we will make sure it's in next year's report.
Just a question, not a question, but I was confronted by one of our constituents at the Woodland Market who asked me why it is that they have to fill that out and apply for it each year. And you gave a very good reason for that. And so maybe if you could share that real quick.
Well, people's incomes change year to year. So yes.
Okay,
People
thank you.
move.
And people move. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
I was impressed by the Canyon Road delinquency summary report. They're noting all the delinquencies in the assessment district. It's towards the end. there aren't any.
Yeah.
So I could shorten that report. None.
That canyon is a group of neighbors who really work together. I must say, it's
Absolutely.
impressive because where I just live right up from the Canyon Road. And so we kind of communicate back and forth with our Firewise groups, and they were so happy to get that. And now folks are asking how to get into it, and they can't really. So, yeah. So thank you.
But can't they extend their sewers into it? I mean, now it's a district sewer and they can do they won't, I don't know, you can work that out, but they can certainly hook to the sewer if there's capacity. But tell them we're proud of them too.
Before we adjourn here, I have a question. Yesterday, I signed two notes of appreciation to employees. Were they supposed to be recognized tonight, or that's in January?
We were hoping to present those directly to the employees earlier this week. That's been postponed until tomorrow. So I suppose we can address that at a future.
Okay, we shouldn't say who they are, and
We can, we weren't prepared to do that specifically tonight.
we have several people who've been with us for a very long time, and they are retiring after many, many years of good service. And their name, Frank
Yes, Frank Sousa and Noel Sandoval.
Sandoval. So thank you to both of them, and for many, many, many years of good service here. Thank you. And our next meeting will be in this exact same place on January 17th at 5 p.m. at 1111 Anderson. So thank you very much for coming tonight, and all of you who helped make this possible. Andrea, Steve, Felicia, Christina, everybody, Paul Bremer, the whole staff really was incredible to make this happen. So thank you so much. Meeting adjourned. Wait, I have to use the gavel.